Hello folks, my name is Zungriware and you found the Quickstart tutorial for ItemBuilder 2.0. By the end of this video, you'll be making items for your map. Timestamps are in the description if you'd like to skip around. ItemBuilder is a development kit for Minecraft Java Edition that allows map makers to create custom weapons and other loot items using a system of effects and conditions. Here's some examples of items you can create without any coding required. All of the behavior for the item is written to its NBT data and will be read by the ItemBuilder data pack to run its custom effects. So the advantages of ItemBuilder. Number one, it's easy to use. You can create an item in minutes that could take upwards of an hour to program in using a data pack. Number two, ItemBuilder is performant. It is a lightweight data pack that will have very little impact on your map's performance. Number three, it's convenient for the player. The data pack is bundled directly into the map file, meaning the player will not need to have anything installed except for the vanilla game. No fabric, no forge, or anything like that. And finally, it's expandable. If ItemBuilder doesn't have the features you need, you can add them yourself and they will slot in perfectly with all of the other features. So if you have map-specific features or other data packs that you want to make use of the features of, you can add those features into ItemBuilder. And I'll explain how in later videos. But for now, let's get to installation and then I'll explain how to use it. So the very first thing is to go to the first link in the description, which will take you to this GitHub releases page. You see under this Assets tab, you want to find the first entry and click this zip file right here. In this case, the most recent released version is ItemBuilder v2.0.1. So just click it to download it, and there we go. So the next thing to do is to install the data pack into your world. If you want to install it onto an existing world, go to single player, pick your world, how about this one, hit edit, go to open world folder, then you're going to open the data packs folder within there, and you're going to drag your zip into here, right where I have it here. Here's a world I have it installed on. When you're in the world, type /reload, and if you see that ItemBuilder v2.0.1 or whatever version you have installed, as long as you get that little ItemBuilder is installed string there, you're good. That means it is installed and it should be working. Let's get started. Now that you have the ItemBuilder data pack installed on your world, you can go to this second link in the description to go to ItemBuilder Studio. This is the web interface where you will create the items. So let's go through the basic features. We'll go to some of these other features later, but we're going to start off with the functionality tab, which is going to have everything we want. So the first thing you want to do is type what kind of item you want to give the player. I'm going to just do a diamond sword. Doesn't really matter too much. Activator type. This is what item slot the item is going to be in order to get the bonuses. In order for the player to get the bonuses. So main hand, offhand, either hand, or armor. I'm going to have it main hand because that's usually what you do for melee weapons. So now we got these three plus signs here. The top plus sign will create effects, the middle one will create conditions, and the bottom one will create filters. We're going to ignore filters for now, those are more advanced. And we're going to get to conditions a little later in the video. But let's start with one simple effect. We're going to make the diamond sword that gives plus 30% movement speed. Alright, then we go to the top right, click copy command, and we go into the game, and let's paste it in. Most of these commands are so long that you're going to need a command block, but there we go. Now the item doesn't have any inherent functionality, it's just this JSON data, but then the data pack reads that JSON data and applies the functionality. It's really the data pack that's making this item work. So you can see our sword gives you 30% speed. But of course that's nothing special, you can do that with attributes. Let's get into conditions, which is where things really start to get interesting and fun. Conditions give you specific situations under which the player will get those effects. Let's start with a simple one. In water. And then the effect will be plus attack damage plus 500. The player will get plus 500 attack damage if they're in water. You know, if you're creating like you want to create like the impaling enchantment, or maybe something like some sort of trident that's only good underwater, but it's a diamond sword here. You can see this does normal damage. See, this does pretty normal damage, but if we're in water, one-shots everything. So that's what a condition does. It lets you give certain bonuses to the sword, but only when you're in water. This inverted tag here lets you flip it around. So instead, this condition will only give you a bonus when you're outside of water. Just an example, I don't know what design space this really serves, but you can see the sword is really powerful, but in water, it's pretty weak. Normal for a diamond sword, that is. So you can already see how you can combine conditions and effects together to create some pretty interesting effects. But here's the thing to note, you can create multiple effects. You can give plus attack damage and minus movement speed if you like. If you want to flip the order around of these, you can do that. Or maybe you can also do duplications. If you want to maybe what you want to do is plus attack damage when you're in water, but minus attack damage when you're out of water. So when you're not in water, you get minus attack damage. And you can do that easily using the copy commands. That'll copy a condition and everything inside it. You can also nest conditions. So you can do a condition inside of a condition. This means both of these conditions will have to be true in order to get the effect. So you could do in water and drinking a potion. You'll get plus movement speed. So you can see that there really is a lot of options, and especially more options as we get into more advanced conditions like the logical conditions involving counters and random numbers, primes and activations, but that will come later. So the next thing to note are these little asterisks. These asterisks denote something special. These denote instantaneous effects and conditions. An instantaneous condition is more like a trigger. It's a condition that's true for only one in-game tick, 1/20th of a second. So dealt damage with an arrow, that's not something that's true or false about the player, that's something the player does. Now, if you put in a plus movement speed after that, or plus attack speed or whatever, that won't really matter much because they'll only get the armor for 1/20th of a second. That's not really useful. The point is that you combine these instantaneous conditions with instantaneous effects. For example, an instantaneous effect is one that has an asterisk next to it. So gain potion effect for duration. So say every time you deal, maybe this is a bow, and every time you deal damage with an arrow, you gain, say, fire resistance for 10 seconds. So let's test that out. Get our zombie. And sure enough, we now have fire resistance for 10 seconds. So you got to be careful with how you apply these, because if you apply, say, a passive condition, such as in water, for example, this is a good go-to just to test this, and then you apply an instantaneous effect, such as received resource item, 1 gunpowder. This is really an instantaneous effect because you're supposed to get it as a trigger. You know, maybe the sword rewards you with 1 gunpowder for every creeper you kill. Just, you know, like looting it, but only against creepers. But if we apply it to a passive condition, we'll end up with this weird situation where we're just getting a gunpowder every tick, which isn't really what the effect was meant for. So be mindful about how you combine passive effects and passive conditions, but you can do things like combine passive effects and passive conditions together to create, like for example, if we are eating food, if we take damage while eating food, we might heal some health. That's an example of, this would be probably more of an armor item, since you can't really eat food and wield a sword at the same time. And make sure to change your activator type here. Oftentimes, this is an easy mistake to make, changing the type of item, but then forgetting to change the activator type. So make sure to change it to armor if you're using an armor. So for now, with knowledge of effects and conditions, you have enough to create some pretty interesting items. I would implore you to now go through all these different conditions and effects and just try them out and see how they work. And this might give you some interesting ideas for some interesting items to create. This logic category is a little harder to understand. I'll be making some future videos on some of the more complex categories, including this third type, filters. But for now, just try out all the different functionality that ItemBuilder has to offer, and I'll see you in a future video.